The moon of Corthan 4 was dead, long since stripped of atmosphere and warmth, its cracked surface battered by millennia of micrometeorites and solar storms. But deep beneath its dust lay something older than most civilizations in the galaxy, constructs known only in whispers and fragmented records. The Starvo of Varelos. For over 1,000 years. The vault had been the subject of legend, obsession, and failure. It was a massive, seamless monolith embedded into the rock, crystalline and opaque, its surface etched with symbols that defied most translation matrices. Theories ran wild. Some believed it was a fortress, others a weapon. Some even argued it wasn't a building at all, but a dormant life form awaiting rebirth. The only thing everyone agreed on was this: it would not open. Countless species across the galaxy had attempted to unlock it. Corethon historians claimed lineage to the builders, yet their genetic keys were rejected. The Ixari brought reality warping tools and failed. The technologically advanced Vunari attempted neural uplinks, plasma cutters, and even brute force. Nothing worked. The vault remained motionless and mutant-carrying, as if waiting for something. Or someone. And then humanity came. The humans were new to the galactic scene, having only achieved faster-than-light travel in the last 2 centuries. Too many older species, they were a curiosity, primitive, loud, chaotic. But humanity had something. The others lacked reckless creativity, where the other civilizations brought protocols and centuries of careful theory. Humans brought wild hunches, intuition, and a refusal to follow rules that didn't make sense. When Earth's exploratory division intercepted ancient Corinthian records describing the vault, their reaction wasn't skepticism, it was excitement. An untouched machine? A mystery unsolved for 1,000 years? That wasn't a problem, that was an invitation. Enter Commander Ren Hallstrom, test pilot and systems engineer, known for surviving high-G crashes and talking to machines like they were old friends. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a diplomat. Wasn't even briefed on the politics of the vault. What he was, however, was exactly what the mission needed. Someone willing to try the impossible. As Ren landed on the moon, in a sleek Terran scout vessel, the galaxy watched through encrypted observation drones and hidden feeds. Dozens of governments, corporate entities, and military forces had eyes on the vault. No one believed the human would succeed. Most expected another failure and, perhaps a fatal one. Ren approached the vault alone. No drones, no robotic assistants. Just a hard suit, a translation AI, and a neural interface glove. The vault loomed ahead, a towering wall of glassy black, etched with softly glowing runes. They shimmered with a faint blue pulse, as though faintly aware of his presence. He raised his hands slowly, fingers brushing over the runes. They felt warm, alive. Pilot access panel, he murmured. His AI translated the symbols, but something didn't sit right. The alien languages interpreted it as authorized users only. But Ren saw something more in the structure of the script schematic. It's almost like a cockpit diagram. You're not locked, he whispered. You're waiting for a pilot, and in that moment, something changed. The runes ignited, flaring bright with sudden energy. The monolithic gate groaned for the first time in centuries. Across its surface, lights rippled like water, and with a seismic shudder, the Starvo opened. Above the moon, the alien observers froze in disbelief. This wasn't supposed to happen. The vault had ignored every dignitary, every command, every override. Yet this one human unknown, unimportant, had triggered its systems. Inside, a corridor lit itself in response to his footsteps. The air was breathable, the temperature stable. The walls pulsed in rhythm with Ren's heartbeat, and the vault seemed to guide him forward, as though it recognized him, and it did. Deep within its systems, the vault scanned his DNA neural patterns. Emotional spectrum. Thousands of parameters flashed green. A voice echoed in his mind, ancient, mechanical, and somehow eager. Genetic compatibility, verified, cognitive match, acceptable, initiating pilot bond. And far beneath the moon, deep inside, a chamber no other species had ever seen, something vast stirred. A titanic starship embedded within the vault, a relic of an age long lost, began to awaken. Energy surged through conduits. Lights flickered to life. Weapons hummed silently in readiness. It had been waiting, not for a species, not for a council, but for a human, and the galaxy had no idea what was about to rise. The moment Ren Hallstrom stepped through the crystalline threshold of the Starvo, the atmosphere shifted. Not physically, though. The temperature was unnaturally perfect, and the air oddly fresh, but, metaphysically, like the universe itself, had exhaled after a long pause. For the first time in 1,000 years, the vault responded not to force, not to commands, but to presence. The inner corridor illuminated in soft pulses of golden-white light that reacted to his footsteps, growing brighter as he moved forward and dimming behind him like a living artery. Along the walls were intricate carvings, shimmering between solid structure and projected light, depicting ancient ships, stars consumed in flame, and beings shaped eerily like humans, staller, more refined, but unmistakably related. Ren's neural interface buzzed with data streams, though his systems weren't connected to anything, at least, not by traditional means. The vault wasn't using electromagnetic signals, was communicating directly with his bioelectrical field, scanning his instincts, reactions, even memories. It was a conversation without words, and the vault approved, high above the moon's surface. A dozen alien ships, stealth recon probes, warships on standby, and diplomatic vessels from various factions tracked every movement. When the vault's massive gates split open, the shock had turned to alarm. Now panic was setting in. The Korathons claimed ancestral ownership. The Vunari were already demanding control, citing galactic preservation laws. Others feared what? The vault might contain an ancient AI, a world-ending weapon, or some forgotten cosmic horror. Yet all of them were locked out, left only to watch as a single Terranan unarmed pilot. No less ventured deeper inside. Ren reached what appeared to be a central chamber sphere, the size of a stadium, with hundreds of suspended platforms, holographic orbs, and shifting pathways that moved like liquid metal. At its center floated a massive console surrounded by curved, seat-like structures that glowed faintly as he approached. Before he could react, the platform extended, as if inviting him forward. Voice no longer just a machine's echo, spoke clearly. In his mind, calm but resonant, as if carrying the weight of centuries. Pilot presence confirmed. Civilization reboot protocol ready, awaiting biometric synchronization.
Now, the moment Ren stepped onto the platform, the vault surged to life.
Below the surface of the moon, ancient systems hummed awake, deep cores reignited. Rotating. Chambers shifted and locked into alignment. The very ground beneath Corithan 4 trembled. In orbit, sensors spiked in confusion. A titanic object once thought to be part of the bedrock was now showing movement. Readings displayed gravitational warping, subspace fluctuations, and power levels rivaling modern super-dreadnoughts. But nothing matched the scale or configuration. No species had ever built something like this, because it wasn't theirs. It was a relic of a forgotten human epocha, civilization erased by time and war, but not by design. And the ship beneath the vault was its last remnant. Ren staggered slightly as the neural interface surged through his mind. He wasn't just connected to controls. The ship was binding itself to him, matching its logic with his instincts, its systems with his thoughts. It scanned his emotional responses, moral tendencies, combat thresholds, and psychological durability. It was choosing him. You are the first. You have the right to decide. As his vision cleared, a massive hologram projected itself across the chamber. It showed the ship's layout like a city embedded within a blade, a starship unlike anything that had ever moved through known space. Its name flickered in ancient Terran script and translated itself in his mind. The last arc. Weapons. Archives. Fabricators. Shielding beyond any known design. The vessel meant not to conquer but to preserve. A time capsule of a species that had once ruled galaxies and chose to vanish rather than destroy them. Outside, galactic fleets began to panic. Emergency meetings were called. Demands were sent to the Terran delegation. What was humanity doing? What had they awakened? The Terran. Response was brief. We're just opening a door. Back in the vault, the ship's systems slowly synchronized with Ren's presence. Could feel it, a low thrum in his bones, like sitting atop a volcano. The last ark had slept for 1,000 years. It had ignored every other species. It had resisted brute force, clever hacks, and ancient keys. But now, because of one stubborn human with no especial pedigree, just curiosity and nerve, it stirred once more. It didn't rise with violence. Not yet, but it was awake, and it remembered everything. Ren Hallstrom stood in the heart of the last ark, his body still adjusting to the neural link that now bound him to the ancient ship. But more than just control was being shared. Memories millennia old, and not his own, were surging through. His mind, like a floodgate, had opened. The ship wasn't merely a machine. It was a sentient archive, and Ren had unwittingly become its first living interface in over 1,000 years. As his neurons adjusted to the ship's cognitive data stream, images and sounds overwhelmed him. He saw stars dying not from age, but from war. Suns being folded into singularities, used as weapons against world-shattering fleets. Ancient human staller. Evolved powerful commanding technologies that defied modern physics. They didn't just travel space. They sculpted it. Ren's breath caught as he witnessed what the galaxy had long forgotten. Humanity's first rise, eons ago. Hectic. Before the current galactic civilizations even crawled from their respective oceans, humanity had mastered the stars. They had explored beyond the galactic rim, created artificial worlds, and uplifted hundreds of lesser species. But what he saw next chilled him. They had also fought a war against something so terrifying it had no name. Only symbols. Something that corrupted matter, time, and thought. Something non-linear, alien beyond comprehension. And humanity had paid the price. Entire human colonies had been devoured. Their greatest minds had perished holding back the dark. In the end, they didn't win. They contained the threat. And they made a decision only a species as paradoxical as humanity could make, to vanish from power before it could corrupt them. They sealed away their weapons, buried their fleets, hid their archives across unreachable systems. And then they disappeared. Ren reeled, the visions fading, the ship now silent. Not because it lacked anything to say, but because it had said enough. He opened his eyes inside the neural chamber, now fully synced with the last ark. Lights pulsed gently as if the ship were breathing with him. The ship spoke again. You are? Heir to a legacy of creation and destruction. This ark contains tools to end galaxies or to heal them. You hold the choice? Ren didn't speak immediately. The magnitude of what he now controlled was overwhelming. The ark wasn't. A warship in the traditional sense, it was a mobile civilization, capable of creating matter, terraforming planets, and even triggering starbirth. But it also housed weapons from a forgotten war things, with names like Gravity Fang, Quantum Threader, and the Final Voice. And above all that, the ship contained knowledge-lost science, philosophies, histories, the accumulated wisdom of a species that had voluntarily stepped back from Go. Outside, the situation was changing fast. The galactic powers were panicking. Dozens of ships now orbited Corathon 4, keeping a safe distance while arming their weapons. Several species had already begun posturing, broadcasting demands to Earth's government, accusing humanity of threatening galactic peace. They wanted the vault resealed. They wanted the ship turned over. And most of all, they wanted Ren out of the pilot's chair, but Earth refused. Terran representatives responded with a single statement. Transmitted across all frequencies, the Ark chose a human. That choice is not yours to undo. Some factions threatened war. Others urged diplomacy. A few wise enough to recognize the ancient glyphs on the Ark's hull did something else. They turned off their weapons and began to send questions instead of commands. And Ren, watching it all from the neural bridge of a god-forged relic, realized something critical. This wasn't about power. It was about what he would do with it. The last arc had tested him, not just physically or genetically, but ethically. The visions had not been to frighten him. They were warnings. Proof of how even the greatest civilization could fall when knowledge became arrogance. He raised a hand to the console, now pulsing gently like a heartbeat. The weapon systems were fully online. The thought he could reduce the fleet in orbit to vapor. No shields would stand. No species would recover from the message it would send. But Ren didn't come to destroy. Instead, he issued his first command: disarm. Begin broadcasting archives. Start with science, then history. The ship obeyed. Outside, the fleets detected a wave of non-hostile energy data streams. Open source formats, freely accessible knowledge pouring into the galaxy. Ren's voice echoed across comms, carried by the Ark itself. The last Ark drifted through the void like a forgotten god reawakened. Its hull formed from materials no modern species could replicate, absorbed starlight, and gave nothing back. Silence accompanied its movement, and with every passing hour, its presence sent ripples of uncertainty through the known galaxy. At the heart of the vessel, Commander Ren Hallstrom sat in the pilot's cradle. But this was no ordinary seat of command. It was a neural throne-an interface, linking his mind directly to the ship's systems. From defense matrices to terraforming engines, the ship trusted him, and every breath he took, every flicker of thought, resonated through the Ark like a signal to a living creature. And now the galaxy waited for Ren to speak, to act, or to destroy. From the edge of known space to the centers of power on 100 worlds, debates ignited like wildfires. Was Ren a liberator or a tyrant in the making? Was humanity the long-lost master race some ancient species had spoken of in terrified myths, or merely the first to stumble onto a terrible legacy? Pressure mounted. The Galactic Council held an emergency convocation. The Vunari, one of the oldest spacefaring races, called for immediate disarmament of the last Ark by force if necessary. The Corithans, once the self-declared heirs of the Vault, now argued for cultural stewardship over the Ark. Conveniently forgetting their own 1,000 years of failure, humanity refused to relinquish control. The Terran diplomatic envoy delivered a single message to the Council. The ship did not respond to our weapons, our science, or our authority. It responded to a human touch. It made its choice. So did we. Tension rose dangerously. Ren felt it all from the bridge fleet movements, encrypted chatter, shadow negotiations. But more than that, he felt something deeper from the Ark itself. A yearning. It wanted to act. To resume its mission. To complete the purpose its builders had encoded into its very existence. And yet it waited. For him, so he made a decision. He would not fire the ship's weapons, though they were beyond anything the galaxy could withstand. He would not demand obedience, though the Ark could force it. Instead, Ren opened the ship's archives, vast libraries of human knowledge, long thought extinct. At his command, the Ark began transmitting, not to governments, not to elites, but to everyone. Science, art, history, medicine, engineering, philosophy. Released into the public datasphere in perfectly translated formats, technologies centuries beyond the current galactic standard, medical advancements that could reverse plagues and extend life, energy systems that made fusion look primitive, concepts that rewrote physics textbooks overnight. The response was instant and tanned. Chaotic. The militaries panicked first. An open data leak of this magnitude was unprecedented. Billions downloaded the archives in minutes. Black markets tried and failed to gatekeep it. Hackers couldn't break it because it didn't need breaking. It was free. Civilizations that had relied on knowledge monopolies saw their power crumbling. Old empires seethed. But others, especially fringe worlds, oppressed species, and underdeveloped colonies rejoiced. The Ark's gift was not just knowledge, it was balance. Ren broadcast a simple message to all systems. This is not a weapon, this is a key. What you do with it is your test, not mine. Still, not all were satisfied. A coalition of hostile powers fearing, the Ark's influences dispatched a fleet to intercept and neutralize it. Hundreds of warships closed in as the Ark passed near neutral space. Their message, stand down or be fired upon. Ren didn't flinch. He didn't raise the shields, didn't ready the weapons. Instead, he let the arc speak for itself as the enemy ships approached firing range. Their weapon systems began to malfunction. Safety is activated. Targeting sensors refused to lock. Internal AI systems shut down without warning. Ren's voice echoed in their britches. You brought weapons to a ship that rewrites stars. Don't mistake restraint for weakness. The hostile fleet withdrew in silence. No shots fired. That day became known as the silence before fire, the moment the galaxy realized Ren Hallstrom could have destroyed them all, chose not to. That choice rippled farther than any threat could have. It changed minds. Scholars and scientists from across hundreds of species requested audience with Ren, not to worship him, but to learn. The Ark became more than a ship, became a moving forum, a sanctuary, and a proving ground. A neutral place where enemies came to reason, where conflicts paused, and where the past whispered warnings to the present. And in the center of it all, still connected to its core, was Ren, pilot of the last Ark, wielder of forgotten power, and the man who turned a relic of destruction into a beacon of choice. The galaxy was watching. Years passed, the last Ark, once a sealed myth buried beneath a forgotten moon, now sailed steadily through the stars, not as a warship, but as a mobile sanctuary, a cathedral of lost knowledge, a neutral beacon among a galaxy still struggling. With its own instincts for war, fear, and division, Ren Hallstrom, once just a test pilot with stubborn guts and a curious mind, had become something more, not a ruler, not a god, but a keeper, sat in the neural cradle still, though the interface had evolved. It no longer overwhelmed his senses or pushed floods of memory into him. Now the ship and he were one in perfect symbiosis, commander and vessel, teacher and archive, protector and reminder. The galaxy had changed. There were still factions that viewed the Ark with suspicion, still whispers that called it a ticking bomb. But those voices grew quieter with time, drowned out by the impact of what the Ark freely gave. Entire planetary systems healed themselves using ancient human nanotechnology. Civil wars were resolved after both sides studied human psychology logs and learned where their cycles of violence mirrored old Terran mistakes. Wounded species cured genetic diseases using templates pulled from the Ark's vast medical archives. Most notably, a strange humility began to spread. Not fear, but respect. Awe, not of the ship's power, but of the restraint shown by its pilot. And Ren never asked for tribute, never flew into a system demanding loyalty. He answered distress signals. He gave lectures on long-forgotten physics. He allowed students alien, synthetic, polytubord, the Ark in study. In time, the Ark became something almost spiritual. They called it the Silent School, the Wandering Vault. Some simply called it the reminder of what could be and what should never be again. The phrase opened by human hands became a saying across hundreds of cultures. It symbolized the unexpected answer to an unsolvable problem. It described the moment when brute force failed, but empathy or curiosity succeeded. It became legend, and legends attract seekers. One day, a young Zelari child, a species that once sought to fire upon the Ark, asked Ren a question no one else had dared ask in years. Why did the Ark choose you? What made you special? Ren didn't answer right away. He looked out at the stars, the same stars that ancient humans had once walked among as creators, warriors, and finally, exiles. Then he said, the tired smile, because I didn't come to control it. I came to listen. That answer echoed across media spheres and cultural forums. It was dissected, debated, immortalized in song and sculpture. But those who knew, truly knew, understood what he meant. The Ark hadn't chosen power. It had chosen humility. It's not submission, but perspective. A pilot who knew that wielding a weapon didn't mean using it. Eventually, age caught up to Ren Hallstrom. Even with the Ark's medical advancements and regenerative capabilities, he remained human, and humans were finite. As he grew older, the ship adapted, allowing him to pass command. functions to a growing council of learners and caretakers from dozens of species. But the neural link? That remained his. He lived his final years aboard the ship, wandering its vast internal cities, tutoring new minds, and sometimes sitting in silence with the ship's core, communicating wordlessly with the vessel that had once slept for 1,000 years until he arrived. And when he passed, the galaxy paused. No planet mourned alone. Broadcasts were interrupted. Silence spread across war-torn sectors. Even those who had once feared him sent tributes, not of gold or flags, but of thanks testimonies of how one human and one ancient ship changed everything. The Ark didn't go dark. It simply altered course. It became a galactic neutral ground. It's governed by a council of scholars, explorers, and philosophers from every corner of known space. It continued to share, to teach, and to serve. Ren's legacy endured not because of what he built, but because of what he chose not to destroy. A plaque now stands in the Ark's central chamber. Written in every known language, it was locked for 1,000 years. Then a human arrived, and asked not what it could do, but what it needed to be.